In the 92nd minute of Belgium versus Egypt at Lumen Field in Seattle, something happened that summarized this entire World Cup in a single moment. Hossam Hassan, Egypt's head coach, one of the most decorated players in African football history, the man who scored 169 goals in 550 appearances for the Pharaohs during his playing career, left his technical area completely. He didn't step toward the fourth official. He stood on the touchline demanding, furious, pointing at the screen, demanding the fourth official look at the replay that every fan in the stadium could see on the big screen above them. His team had just been denied what he considered a clear penalty. Yannick de Cooper had challenged an Egyptian player in the area. The contact was visible. The replays showed it. Hossam Hassan watched them on the stadium screen, and he lost his composure entirely, in a way that coaches rarely do in public, because what he was watching told him one thing, and the referee's decision told him something completely different. The match finished 1-1. Belgium had taken the lead through Romelu Lukaku. Egypt equalized, and in the 92nd minute, with a chance for the Pharaohs to take all 3 points and announce themselves as a genuine group contender, the moment was taken away from them. Or wasn't taken away, depending on which version of events you accept. What's not in dispute is what happened on the touchline. What's not in dispute is how Hossam Hassan looked. And what's not in dispute is that Egypt versus Belgium at a World Cup has now produced a refereeing controversy. Again. Let's go through all of it. Before we get into the match and the penalty controversy, we need to address something else that happened to Egypt before a single ball had been kicked in Seattle, because it adds a dimension to this story that belongs at the very top of the narrative. On June 13th, 2 days before the Belgium match, FIFA informed the Egyptian national team that they were required to remove 7 stars from their shirts. Not 1, 7. Those 7 stars represent Egypt's 7 Africa Cup of Nations titles in 1957, 1959, 1986, 1998, 2006, 2008, 2010. 7 continental championships, the most by any nation in AFCON history. 7 times Egypt were the best team on an entire continent of football. Those stars sat above the Egyptian crest on their shirts, and FIFA told them to take them off. The Egyptian Football Association's response was measured. The chairman said they were cooperating with FIFA to understand the specifics and hoped for a prompt resolution that respects Egypt's remarkable football heritage. That phrase, Egypt's remarkable football heritage, being used by their own chairman in a statement about why their shirts had to be altered before a World Cup match, tells you something about the mood that Egypt brought into Lumen Field on Monday evening. Now let's talk about the match, because the football itself was genuinely compelling.
Belgium and Egypt had never met at a World Cup before. This was a historic first encounter, made more significant by who was on the pitch. Mohamed Salah, at 33, in what many believe will be his final World Cup, leading the Egyptian attack. Kevin De Bruyne, one of the greatest midfielders of his generation, orchestrating Belgium from deep. Romelu Lukaku, written off by critics more times than most players score goals, wearing the captain's armband for what may also be his last World Cup. Belgium took the lead early. Lukaku. Of course it was Lukaku, the man who has outscored every Belgian in history, who carries his nation's attacking burden with a certainty that borders on the inevitable. His goal gave Belgium control. His movement in the final minutes, he nearly doubled the lead with a powerful header that drifted just wide at the 87th minute, was a constant reminder of why Belgium came into this group as favorites. And then Egypt equalized. The Pharaohs, who had been disciplined and resilient throughout, found a way through. The goal was significant not just for the scoreline, but for what it signified. Egypt are dangerous. Their defensive structure, which Hossam Hassan has spent years refining around the principle of compact shape and quick transition, makes them one of the harder teams in the tournament to break down. And when Salah is involved in the final third, there is always the threat of something extraordinary. The draw, 1-1, was a fair reflection of a competitive, open match. Both teams had chances. Both teams worked hard. The atmosphere in Seattle was everything the pre-tournament optimists had hoped for. The spokesman review described it as a level international soccer has never previously seen in the Emerald City. Red everywhere, Belgian red, with flashes of white and black and the distinctive Pharaohs colors. Seattle, a city that has been building its football culture for years, delivered an atmosphere that the tournament needed after the empty sections in Guadalajara. And then the 92nd minute arrived. De Cooper's challenge on an Egyptian player in the penalty area. The replays shown on the stadium screen. Hussam Hassan at the touchline, pointing, demanding, his body language broadcasting fury in the way that coaching composure rarely allows in public. The referee maintained his decision. The match ended 1-1. What actually happened with De Cooper's challenge? The beIN Sports Live blog confirmed that after seeing the replay on the screens, Hassan completely lost his temper. He was furiously demanding a penalty while standing right on the touchline, putting massive pressure on the fourth official. That is the verified account of what happened at 92 minutes from the broadcaster who was calling the match. Whether the challenge constituted a penalty is the question that Egyptian fans, analysts, and pundits are debating this morning across every Arabic-language football platform. The contact was there. Whether it was sufficient, whether it met the threshold for a foul in the area rather than a normal challenge, is the judgment call the referee made in real time, without a VAR check coming to the same rescue that Switzerland received against Qatar. Here is where the historical pattern matters, because Egypt's relationship with World Cup refereeing decisions is a documented story that goes back decades. In 2018, at their first World Cup since 1990, Egypt faced Russia in their second group match. They lost 3-1. The Egyptian Football Association filed a formal complaint to FIFA about referee Enrique Caceres, specifically citing an Egyptian player being pushed before turning the ball into his own net for Russia's opening goal, and a penalty claim in the 78th minute. The association president specifically said, "We want an investigation into the performance of the whole refereeing team." No investigation was announced. No decision was reversed. Egypt went home without a point. In 2026, the World Cup has given Egypt a draw rather than a defeat, a point rather than 0. Salah is fit and involved, the team is organized and competitive, and the penalty that Hussam Hassan believes was denied will be debated for weeks in Egyptian football circles.
But here is the bigger picture, the one that connects the stars on the shirt to the penalty on the touchline to the tournament around it. Egypt came to the 2026 World Cup after being told to remove the evidence of their continental achievements from their own clothing, after being informed that 7 titles, 7, don't count the same way as the World Cup titles that 4 other teams are permitted to display. After arriving to a tournament where 2 of their group stage opponents have fans who can attend freely, while Ivory Coast's and Senegal's supporters, also in their group, face travel restrictions that make attending matches in the United States effectively impossible. When a coach stands on the touchline in the 92nd minute demanding a penalty that wasn't given, the immediate controversy is about the specific decision, but the context around it, what Egypt have already been asked to accept and remove and adjust and comply with before arriving at that moment, is also part of what Hussam Hassan was expressing. He wasn't just demanding a penalty, he was demanding to be seen. That's the read that isn't in any official report, but it's the one that anyone paying attention to what this tournament has done to African football representation, to African fan access, to the stars on Egypt's shirts, that's the reading that sits underneath the 92nd minute. Now let's look forward, because Egypt are very much alive in Group G. They have Iran next, on June 21st, at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, an opponent whose own participation has been surrounded by controversy, whose fans can't attend because of travel restrictions, and who arrive at this tournament carrying the weight of everything that has happened since February. And then New Zealand, and if Egypt win those 2 matches or take 4 points from them, they are in a strong position for the knockout stage. Hussam Hassan's defensive structure makes them a difficult team for anyone to beat. Salah hasn't scored yet. When he does, it will change the atmosphere around Egypt's campaign entirely. A Salah World Cup goal, for a player who has scored everything everywhere else but has never fully lit up this specific tournament, is one of the storylines that every football fan is waiting for. Belgium, meanwhile, face Iran next in Los Angeles, a match that should, on paper, be straightforward. But nothing at this World Cup has been straightforward. Iran's squad, based in Tijuana and crossing the border for match days, have been through more in the past 4 months than any team in tournament history that was still allowed to compete. What that experience does to them on the pitch, whether it creates a resilience that translates to results, or whether the disruption simply adds up, we will find out. The draw between Belgium and Egypt gives Group G its shape. Both teams have a point. Iran have played once, New Zealand haven't yet. Everything is still entirely open. What's not open is Hossam Hassan's view of what happened in the 92nd minute. He was at the touchline. He saw the replay. He made his opinion clear to anyone in Lumen Field who was watching. Football at this tournament keeps producing moments like that. Moments where the argument about a decision becomes the story, where the coach's frustration and the fans' anger and the broadcaster's slow-motion replay all point in the same direction, and the only entity saying something different is the referee, supported by VAR, or in this case, apparently without VAR intervention. The bigger question, the one this tournament has been raising since the first match, is whether that pattern, repeated across enough games, changes how the world sees the decisions being made. What do you think? Was Egypt denied a clear penalty in the 92nd minute? And does the background, the stars removed from their shirts, the fans who couldn't travel, the history of Egypt's World Cup refereeing complaints, change how you read Hossam Hassan's reaction on the touchline? And here's the football question going forward. Can Egypt beat Iran and New Zealand and reach the knockout stage for the first time ever? Or does Belgium win the group and push Egypt into a difficult round of 32 path? Leave it in the comments. Hit the like button if this gave you the full story. Subscribe if you're not already here. We are covering every match and every controversy at this tournament, all the way to July 19th. This story is still developing. And as always, football never stays quiet for long. See you in the next one.